Hey, once again, we're back. Yes, it's the OnFire show. It's the OnFire show. It's January the 20th on HamiltonRadio.net. And I am so excited today because we're going to have a great show today. And I'm here with my co-host,
Joe Ciano.
And Neil Slosh is in Florida.
Florida.
He's in Orlando, Florida. He's hanging out with Mickey and Minnie Mouse and Daffy and was it Daffy, Goofy, and Goofy and the Musketeers.
The Mouseketeers.
The Mouseketeers too, and he's out there.
What else you got on there?
And a bunch of people down there enjoying themselves. He's probably relaxing, listening to the show. Hey Neil, how you doing? I am glad you're having a great vacation, you and your kids, and hope you enjoy yourself.
Yeah, he's got tax season coming up soon, so
he
got to get his batteries charged.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
Another week and 2 weeks, and he's off to the races for 2 months.
Oh yeah, he's on a 2-week vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. And so today is on Fire Show, and then we got to have a lot of good conversation and a great guest. About 9:15, we have Mr. Linn Washington, former Philadelphia Tribune writer, and he's going to be talking about some interesting things when he went to Algeria. He went to Algeria about 2.5, maybe 3 weeks ago, and about what's happening with the problems over there in the Western Sahara with Morocco that has basically taken over Algeria.
Well, yeah, I mean they've taken over an entire ethnic population. You see this all over the world with big nation states, and we look at them and just say they're all one and the same. But we see that in the Middle East with the Kurds that don't have their own nation. We see things like the Scots. They want to have independence. Quebec wants to have independence. These there's a big movement in the world that people want local government, but in this case, these people are also being subjected to it seems serious human rights abuses.
Oh yeah, the Morocco, they promised some free elections. It didn't happen. So Mr. Linn Washington, a reporter, formerly Philadelphia Tribune reporter, and he's also a professor at Temple University. He's taught at least thousands of people go out and be a great reporter. He's taught a lot of good reporters, and they're all over the country right now because of Linn Washington.
We had him here. About 6 months ago. He was a great guest.
Yeah, definitely great guest. Knows a lot. And as you know, on the Facebook page, the group, we all put up what's happening around the world with ISIS, and people are talking about should there be another Christian crusade? And that's definitely interesting. You want us to give us a call at 609-800-1003. That's 609-800-1003. One of the things that we're seeing now with ISIS is that the radical Islamic group, and they're out there cutting heads off. They're out there taking over parts of different countries. They definitely believe in slavery. As they put out their slavery book, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they talked about, what can you do with slaves? Can you sell a slave? Can you sleep with your slave? All these different things, and the idea of people putting out fear. Definitely, they dislike Christians, and so when you see them, ISIS, they just had 2 Japanese individuals. They promised they want Japan to pay $200 million to cut their head off. And it's if you don't give up the money, we're going to cut your head off. And they've been doing this for years now.
All right. Well, thugs are thugs. I don't care what religion they are.
Yeah.
To me, that's a front for thuggery.
Yeah, and it is terrible. And they're using the name of Islam.
The name of Allah.
Allah.
It's sacrilege.
Yeah, and it's and you see more people who are joining them. I mean, that's the thing around the world are joining ISIS, and the people, are talking about should there be another crusade, because the idea of you look at the history of the last crusade, that's Christian crusade that drove radical Islam underground.
Yeah, well, I mean the Crusades originally were meant for a couple things. One is that that Islam did conquer the Holy Land, but the Christian nobles were making war on each other as a means of sport to some extent, and and plunder. That's what they did. And the Pope said, "Hey, let's stop killing each other." And they said, "Let's turn around and get these guys over there."
Yeah.
But I think to some extent that's what war is now. It's always it's another distraction. It says, "Oh, look at those guys over there," so we get upset about the people over there, what they steal from us over here.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things that when you see these individuals cutting people's heads off, trying to take over countries, and it's like they're trying to start something. They want to see something happen, and when you're putting fear in people people are afraid, and you see what's happening over in France, it's one of these things where it's Christians, Muslims. And we're not, as Christians, I'm a Christian, but you don't see a lot of Christians going off cutting people's heads off, and we don't, we're not.
And for the most part, France is a formerly Christian country. They're pretty much an agnostic, secularist, atheist, country right now. And in this country, you seem to have a lot of support, for the cause of of radical Islam. It seems to me,
mm-hmm.
From that side. But radical Islam must have nothing to do with the values that that the progressive left and the secular left is all about.
Yeah, and one of the things that was in the article is that should we use radical Christians to fight radical Islam. I mean, and it's one of the topics that are people are talking about. And you see that some of them when you look online and when you look at some of the radical news sites and and they're saying there's the Muslim crusade. And and it's basically what is ISIS trying to do? And people are fear. There's a fear of a group coming into your community, cutting your head off, explosions. It's and one of the things we happen in France, where you had the newspaper, and granted the newspapers, that specific newspaper showed a picture of the Prophet Muhammad in a derogatory way. And the Pope, even though the Pope did say, you shouldn't do that. I mean, that's, people's religion,
right.
Religious leader. And, you're stirring up controversy, and you have individuals who are very radical. And I mean, can you imagine if someone shown a photo of the Pope in a derogatory way? What could happen?
Yeah, I can. I mean, this is...
Well, Jesus,
Yeah, well, we had, in the last 10 to 15 years of in this country, put on an exhibit and actually paid for by the National Endowment of Arts. I don't know if you remember that. There was the Piss Jesus, where they took a crucifix with Christ on it, put it in a bottle of, put like in a mason jar full of urine, and put that on display. Okay, that's kind of offensive to some people. Some people wrote angry letters about it.
Yeah.
That's what you get. You get angry letters. You get somebody going on a talk show denouncing that. Nobody gets killed. There was another one where they took a statue of Jesus and they smeared feces all over it, and they put that up as art. Fine, that's your freedom of speech in America. That's it. If it offends you, don't support that. It shouldn't be supported by. It shouldn't be supported by the government. If the government is not going to support, religious speech, they shouldn't support anti-religious speech.
Yeah.
Fine. And then you get angry letters and you get denunciations on talk radio and all. That's what we do. We don't shoot people because the problem is that if you go look into you look at the Hebrew scriptures, it says you should not make a graven image of the Lord because you can't, because nobody knew what the Lord looked like. Okay, now after Jesus came, he said, well, there was a man, he walked, we could make an image of him because he was here. He came in the flesh. Muhammad is a prophet. He's a human being. He may be an enlightened human being, but still a human being. So why can't we make an image of the prophet?
Yeah, but in a Islamic person who's Muslim and you have people that really take this is Islam serious. I mean, is there responsibility for a newspaper to do such? I mean, does they have a responsibility to say, listen, to really disrespect and the Islamic nation and Islam? I mean, is there a area where okay, listen, there are radicals out there. Anything possible. They firebombed the place one time. So is there any? There has to be some type of thinking of, listen, we shouldn't do this. We know we're going to get some people upset, a lot of people upset, and we know what happens when you have we're in France, and there's a lot of Muslim immigrants that are in our country, and there are people that are very radical. And, is there a responsibility? And that's one of the things that we should definitely want people to call it, is did this newspaper have a responsibility to just, stop and say it's wrong? We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't be committed to this.
Yes.
I mean, what do you think?
Well,
I think
they have a responsibility. They have a responsibility to their readers. They have a responsibility to their stockholders, or if they are there. And the marketplace enforces this thing. I remember 20-odd years ago, was it Ice Cube, I believe it was. He put out he tried to put out a CD called Cop Killer. If you remember that one. And his record company, which was Columbia at the time, said, we're not going to put that out, and said that was a violation of his First Amendment rights. Well, it wasn't, because Sony was his employer. They were paying him. So they had no obligation to do that. On the other hand, he's free to say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's free to say whatever he wants. I mean, if you're going to go out there and put stuff out on the marketplace will enforce that. If people think it's offensive, they won't buy it. If there's enough people who like it, it says, well, we can make money doing.
But is there consequences though?
Well, there were consequences. Yeah, but there.
I mean, but it bothers me that when people put things out there, you're going to have consequences, and what has happened in France, there were consequences.
Okay.
Of what you should do.
All right. All right. So we're casting in these terms. Let's say we are living in Nazi Germany, and I want to go out and say I have a few choice words I want to say about Adolf Hitler, and I'm going to get, I'm going to go to jail for this. I may be killed for this. I may get my family killed. But wouldn't that be the right thing to do?
Is it wise?
Well, wise. It depends what you might mean.
I mean, it's a wise thing to do, knowing that somebody can come up to you and kill you or shoot you in your head.
No, well, somebody could shoot us in the head right now if we're doing this.
Yeah. So I'm going
to get another text about that one.
Uh-oh. We got comments on the chat room. If you can give us a call at 609-800-1003. And that's one of the things that people are saying about. Should there be another Christian crusade because of killing Christians? And, we have a responsibility to protect. If you're a Christian, you protect your people, your faith. And that's something that people should really want to talk about.
Yeah, well, then there was turn the other cheek, too.
Turn the other cheek. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, as a Christian, we said Jesus said, love our enemies. Bless them that curse you. Pray for those who spitefully use you. Blessed are the purest in heart, for they shall see God. Yes, that's true. But when you have an enemy that's out there that, when does the point of you have an enemy out there that will not stop, they will kill you, they don't want to hear nothing about love your enemy. They don't want to hear nothing, blessed are the purest in heart. They don't want to hear none of it. All they want to do is get you, cut your head off, and go on to the next person. So I mean, yeah, as Christians, some of us, we don't believe in, believe in nonviolence, as Martin Luther King believed in nonviolence. But then there comes a point where, when will it stop?
I'll tell you
when you should. I mean, there has to be a point. When do you fight?
Every revolutionary government that we've seen in the 20th century, we had a revolutionary government in the Soviet Union. Yeah. We had a revolutionary government in China. We've had one in Cuba. Where do they stop? They pretty much stop at their borders when you get down to it. Russia did want a perimeter because they had been invaded many times. It really had nothing to do with communism. It had a lot to do with European geopolitical politics. So we have seen major nations with major armed forces who stopped at their government. Generally, when somebody
but this is not a nation.
But it will be a nation if it coalesces. And when things become nations, they use these rallying cries, but then they become conservative. I think of what's this? Black Muslim, before Farrakhan, before, what's his name?
Who, Malcolm X?
No.
Before Malcolm?
Yeah. Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
Elijah Muhammad, he talked a lot of smack about the white man, this, that, the other thing, and the other. And then when when Kennedy got shot, and then Malcolm X said, "Well, the chickens have come home to roost." Elijah Muhammad went nuts. No, we don't need that kind of talk around here. He goes, I want to stir up some let's go get. But you know what? He had a lot of nice businesses running. He was making a lot of money. He didn't want trouble. When you become the government, you could still say these things about the other guys over there, but you don't want trouble. You're going to consolidate your gains, and you're going to live the good life.
Yeah, but we're talking about government where we're not talking about a government. We're talking about radicals they're inside a government. They're inside a country. They have they're not presidents.
Well, we know.
They're not presidents, they're not congresspeople.
Well, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
That the Middle East was not really a place of nation states. Mm-hmm. It only became a place of nation states because the Western Europe, or European powers, and the United States wanted them to have nation states, and they set them up. They set up these tin horn dictators in all these countries that the people never chose. They weren't popularly elected. There's a lot of them still aren't popular now. Mm-hmm. Afghanistan was never a nation. I mean, they drew it on a map, but all the different territories were run by various warlords. The capital had no control over these things. So, I think that what's going on there's got to be a working out and a balancing of power. But even in places like Iran, where we had Kurds, we had Shiites. That was a nation state that was held together purely by the force of Saddam Hussein. That stuff needs to work itself out. Mm-hmm. I think those places will eventually find a balance of power, and we got to keep our hands off of it.
Yeah, but when the balance of power. I mean, when you look at with the nation states like what Saddam Hussein he was the control of Iraq, and he could control. I mean, you look at Iraq now. You look at Libya. And all the hell that was happening in Libya after Gaddafi left. I mean, they got assassinated. After Gaddafi got killed.
You see this kind of stuff going on in Africa all the time too. I mean, sometimes it's Islamic, like Boko Haram, but a lot of times there's a lot of tribal warfare still going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's one of the things that the America's hand has played a major role in the demise of a lot of different Arab leaders. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look what like I said, look at Iraq, look at Libya. You look what happened.
Right.
And
we took out the Shah. We put in the Shah of Iran. We took out their, the elected guy, and these things come back to people remember. They have long memories.
I mean, look what happened in Egypt. Mm-hmm. We got rid of Mubarak, and then we put what was the group? We got about 2 minutes to go.
Right.
Well, we put in the
Muslim Brotherhood.
The Muslim Brotherhood, and you see what happened to them. They got kicked out.
They got kicked out too.
They locked the military came and locked their leader up.
Right. And in these places, there's not a tradition of these stable governments, and they can't control these large areas of land.
Are they prepared? You're right, but are they prepared? And see, one of the things that bothers me is that. America and other countries, they understand a democracy. But when you go to places like Libya and Iraq and Iran and Egypt, they're not really a democracy. We want to place our type of democracy on them. And they're not used to that. There's more of a dictator type leadership.
Right. And, it's sad for them. On the other hand, it's like, well, they don't have the tradition, the structure, these things. From Western European, we went through, the Enlightenment. We had a spiritual tradition which placed emphasis on the individual and individual responsibility, the value of the human being. And then you had people like John Locke talking about, the value, of the human being, and that the governments were based upon natural law. Well, if you look at the world from a different way and say, well, it's not about things are built up from the individual, but the individual is simply a cell that descended from the state, from the collective, then the individual is not valued, and the idea of a king being he is the embodiment of the state. He there's a certain if it's not religious, it's close to it. We used to have the divine right of kings, but there's a certain mystical power and attached to that idea of kingship. And even within Germany, with the Führer, this guy who was nobody, was the Führer. He was the father of us all. That's a scary thing. But we look at things from the individual perspective and going up. Not everybody does that. A lot of people want to be a part of a strong whole, and they don't want autonomy, and that's fine.
I mean, look at Saudi Arabia.
Live that way. I don't want to live that way, but if people want to live that way, let them live that way. If they want to flee those places, let them flee.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Saudi Arabia has been dictatorship for close to over 100 years.
Yeah.
And you try to pull a democracy off in Saudi Arabia, and then you see what would happen.
No, and it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
They're well connected with us. They're well connected with the Bushes, and everything's hunky dory.
Yeah, but and when you look at it, why wasn't things hunky dory? I mean, the problem is that if you look at Libya, when they got rid of Gaddafi, you look at where they got rid of Saddam Hussein, and you look at with the Muslim Brotherhood, Mubarak, our hand was involved with that. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like when we stick our hand involved, then
we screw it up. Right.
It's in a major screw up in a major way.
Mm-hmm. But do you think
more people die?
You look at Russia, not quite the same thing, but still, there was the fall of all the Soviet Union. Those people are really happy to have Putin. Yeah. They really want somebody who's in there who's kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not a dictator. And
not technically a dictatorship, but this guy pretty much got his pulse on what goes on around there.
Yeah, and as that's I don't know, that's what's going on in Russia right now. I don't know if that's a really true democracy.
It's not. I mean, it's a democracy in terms of yes, they have a constitution and they have a procedure in that, but they have a tradition of people. They went from having the czars, absolute rulers, to having a revolution, to putting in I'm sorry, and putting in then a leadership of the Communist Party. That fell apart. They really didn't know what to do with that. They didn't really know how. They didn't know about self-government.
Yeah.
And even though they have the trappings of self-government, they're really looking and begging for like a strong man to take.
So it's like a thugocracy.
Yes.
A thugocracy.
Thugocracy, yes.
Not a democracy, but a thugocracy. and we have thugocracies all around the world right now.
Right.
Yeah, they have a constitution, but I'm a thug and I control everything.
Right.
Yeah. I'm Putin, and I'm Putin. I can control and Putin is not the president. No,
I don't know what he is.
He's like he's the one. Like I said, thugocracy guy. Thugocracy, yes, that's what you call it. He's a thugocracy. This is OnFire News Show. Great show we're having today. We're talking about some good topics. We're going to have Linn Washington on at about 9:15. You can go to our chat room. Are they saying anything in our chat room? Any questions, anything they want to know, talk about? If you can give us a call at 609-800-1003. Call in on these topics. You got something on it? Anybody say anything?
What? Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. Why don't we get to that after the break?
Oh.
I'm just trying to absorb it all now.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah, Neil, that was Neil's job, but Neil is at Disney World, and he sent a text saying he's at the Madagascar. Wow. Okay. We're on fire. We'll be right back.
Call Andrew Martino, Farmers Insurance, for all your insurance needs. Mr. Martino will give you the professionalism you expect from an experienced insurance agency. With Farmers Insurance, you will get the maximum coverage at competitive pricing. For a quick quote, contact Andrew Martino at 609-256-3364. 609-256-3364. Email Andrew at andrew.albright@farmersagency.com. That's ANDREW.ALBRIGHT@farmersagency.com. And Facebook, Andrew at Andrew Martino of Farmers. That's ANDREWMARTINO of Farmers. Mention this ad to Andrew to let him know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net.
On Tuesday, January 27th, the On Fire show's guest will be Jordan Page. Jordan is a Ron Paul supporter and musician. Don't miss this exciting show right here on HamiltonRadio.net, channel HR2.
So much music in one place.
Station's getting better and better.
It always has exactly what I want to hear.
No wonder we're number one in Hamilton and New Jersey.
Welcome back to the On Fire show on HamiltonRadio.net.
Hey, we're back. This is On Fire Show with me and Joe. While Neil is in Miami, he's in Orlando, and he's gone for 2 weeks. He's listening in, enjoying himself.
Neil, he's never far away.
Yeah, he's never far away. So Joe, we missed the part where we talked about our weekend, so we can go on right in that weekend. How was your weekend, Joe?
I had a great weekend. So Sue comes in on Saturday morning and says, we should go out and celebrate. Okay, fine, let's go out and celebrate. She goes, I want to see a show. So I said, well, we don't go up to Bordentown. I don't know if you guys ever go up to the record collector up there. They have some great bands. He says, no, I want a theatrical show. Okay, theatrical show. I guess we got to go to Philadelphia. So I'm like walking around the house, and I don't know why I have some like Cole Porter tunes in my head. I said, they got any Cole Porter shows? Walk up on the internet. Next thing you know, there's a show called Hot and Cole, a Cole Porter review. Said, we got to go see that. Mm-hmm. So it's called what was the name of this called? Not the Muskrat. I'll think about the name of the theater. We'll look it up on the internet as we go along here. But yeah, the review was put on. It was six people in formal wear, 3 men, three women, and it's Philadelphia's only entirely LBGT theater company. So.
Uh-oh.
So this was, there was no radical Islam there as far as I could tell. And there's no that night.
Radical libertarian was there.
A lot of libertarians on bet. But it was a great show. But it was fun because, it was funny. It was them. They had, but, Cole Porter was gay. He was not openly because he couldn't be like when he was, when he was working in the 20s and through the 40s and into the 50s. But there was like a lot of double entendre, and they played that out pretty good. Getting some commentary here as well. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great review, and I recommend it. It's going to be playing through the end of the month.
Oh, right.
We had a good time.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. And that was it?
That was it. And then we watched Sunday was
football.
Was football day, and that Seattle game
just
was like
I caught it. I caught it in overtime.
Uh-huh.
You know what? I was so upset because I was doing some work and taking care of business and hanging out. And one of the things that I did call you, and I was I called Joe up, and Joe said, "Oh my God, check out the game." I said, "What are you talking about?" And when I looked online, I saw Green Bay up. And Green Bay, I was like, okay, wow, Green Bay is kicking Seattle behind. Okay, wow, no Seattle this year in the Super Bowl. And then I call you up, and I'm relaxing. And next thing you know, Joe says, "Oh my God, you're missing a great game. What are you talking about?" Is Green Bay up by 2 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I was like, "Oh my God!" So I turn on the television. I go downstairs and turn on the television, and next thing you know, I'm watching it was in overtime. Mm-hmm. And I really don't like Seattle. I really don't like the quarterback. I mean, he's a terrible quarterback. He got 4 interceptions in that playoff game, then he come back and throw 2 great passes, and I think it was the third pass or the second pass was a touchdown. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, wow.
It's like pro wrestling where like the good guys getting they're wiping the ring with the bad guys, and the last minute and a half he comes alive, or like Rocky all of a sudden just pulls it out of and decks Apollo Creed.
Oh yeah, it is one of the craziest things. Then I turn on the game to watch the football game. And it's like who was it playing? It was the Baltimore, the Colts.
What, this weekend?
Yeah, and
New England and the Indianapolis Colts.
Indianapolis Colts. Oh, where am I at now? But I was watching the game, and it seemed like to be a decent game right in the beginning, and I'm like, oh my God, New England kicks their behind.
Yeah.
New England kicks their behind. And I'm like, okay, how great is this luck guy? I mean, you should change his name. He got some bad luck.
Bad luck.
And it was one of those things where, you're looking at it, you're having a beer in your hand, you're sitting there waiting for an exciting game. and the Patriots just kicked behind. And one of the things they're talking about, the controversy is that they what was it? They deflate the football. Yeah, the Patriots, and they cheat because they used to cheat before. They used to look at the players, the game before the games, and then chat down everything that the quarterback would do or the other players would do during practice.
The referees are supposed to have all the balls that are used in the game, and they're supposed to inspect each one of them like an hour and a half before the game,
and you think
as well as. Well, that's what they're supposed to do, as well as the visiting team is also able to bring 15 balls of its own as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think people just can't figure out Belichick. The week before they were complaining because he was making those weird substitutions which were totally legal, putting running backs on the offensive line and then saying they were ineligible receivers.
Yeah, I mean that's maybe just a smart coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, slick or slick, one of the two, smart or slick.
Right.
And here they go to the Super Bowl again, and it's going to it should be a great Super Bowl.
East Coast, West Coast. You got the two northeast, northeast and northwest fishing towns.
Yeah. And one of the things that, I'm so glad Denver didn't go. Is one of those things where you don't need the quarterback of what's his name? What's the Denver quarterback?
Peyton Manning.
You don't need You don't need Peyton Manning. I don't want to hear no Omaha. And I don't need a blowout. I want to see a good game, and it's it'll probably be a great game.
I hope so.
They have a great running back.
Mm-hmm.
They have an awesome running back and a great quarterback and great receivers.
You know who I like?
The
Richard
Patriots,
Sherman.
Well, yeah. Well, didn't he break his arm?
I think he was playing with a broken arm. I have to go look at that.
Wow.
He was. I remember Ronnie Lott cut his finger off to play the game. So I like guys like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that's are happening tonight is the State of the Union tonight, and it's really interesting what Obama's going to talk about. And there's a lot of topics going to be talking about, and it's one of those things you wish you were there. You wish you can scream out, "Oh no, don't say that!" And it's we want people to check out the State of the Union tonight, and also give us a call at 609-800-1003. And also we're planning our big tax day rally. That's April 15th at the State House, and I got at least 2 or 3 confirmed speakers.
Great. Who would those be?
Who would those be? Okay, Bill. One of the things that I really want us to talk about, who are those speakers? Because there are 2 or 3 good speakers that will be speaking at that event. And Dr. Eck, who ran for Congress and United States Senate, she's definitely going to be there. And that's exciting. Have someone like her that can talk about taxes, can talk about what's happening, Obamacare. It's awesome when you have someone like her, and she is so strong in knowledge. And one of the things that it's great is having also a preacher. You know what that preacher is?
Reverend Stephen Crafts.
Reverend Stephen Crafts. That's right. He will be there. A great preacher. He was at Restoring Freedoms, and he basically lit the place up. He's a strong preacher, has a powerful voice. And, I'd asked Reverend Kraft, you got to be there. You got to open this up. You got to open this up with something real strong. And, he said he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm just so excited about the possibilities of having a great event. Now, one of the things I had a great conversation with Bill and Barbara Ains. Barbara Ains, she's a great patriot, Morristown Patriots. And she is a great patriot, and she, we've been talking for the past 2 days, and she's been definitely dealing with some of the issues of Common Core, illegal immigration. So we definitely want to hopefully have them play a part in this tax day rally, and we'd also talked about the possibilities of doing some type of panel discussion, either a day before tax day or after the rally, do a panel discussion about issues on gas tax, where everything is headed in New Jersey. And we talked about how people in New Jersey are leaving New Jersey. A lot of residents are deciding just to get out. And we talk about, how could, as conservatives, conservatives with the Libertarian Party, libertarians, independents. How can we go into the inner city areas and talk about what's happening with their education, with jobs, because we're all New Jerseyans. And, the events that we can't keep preaching to the same choir over and over again. We definitely have to get more people of color involved, more people of low income to come out to rallies and support. And it's a must if you're going to able to take it to the next level.
Right. Well, we're seeing, that there is a disenchantment, of among the inner city, among African Americans, among a lot of groups with the Democrat Party. Now, they don't see that the Republicans are doing much for them either, but there is coming to a realization that after, 50 to 60 years of blind loyalty, that life has only gotten worse, and there's got to be a better way. And to me, I think that there's got to be a case made to them for liberty, for freedom, for free markets, and not, they're involved with this heavy-handed government, and they get into these cities where everything is rigged. All the contracts go to the political friends, and they're bought off with peanuts, and their schools are awful because the money's being spent on teacher pensions and administrator salaries and everything else.
I mean, and one of the things that Bill and Barbadians are doing, which is so good, they have the Center for Self-Governance.
That's what I just had up here. They're having a meeting tomorrow night, it looks like.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about, hopefully she's listening right now, is that she's talking about people understanding government and how to govern yourself, but understanding from city to state to federal government. And people, and I think that's what a big problem that we have in areas where people, they know nothing about government. They don't know nothing about how government works. And so, she's doing this class, and it's awesome that she's doing this because people need to understand what happens with your health care, what happens with education, what happens with your policies. I mean, these things are needed in definitely the state of New Jersey. But also, we really, have to come together and work as one because, the state is going down, the educational system is going down. I even talked about, I think in the past couple of shows about the D+ rating in the school systems, even in the city of Trenton, a D+ rating. And, I was on public transportation today, and a young girl heard me talking about Trenton High School. And I asked her, well, what do you think about Trenton High? She said she hates the school. They're not teaching her what she needs to be taught. So if someone goes there and they're not able to teach them what she needs to be taught, how is she going to make it to the next level in college?
Yeah.
They're going to send, Obama wants to send all the kids to go to a community college. And if you're a C+ student, you can get the scholarship.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the idea that having a piece of paper is going to work some magic for you that just you didn't learn anything, but I have one of these. It says
I graduated.
Yeah, that's like the Wizard of Oz, where we're going to give you a diploma.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's important, and I honestly think, and I'm going to say this over there need to be some type of revolution when it comes to education in our cities. The people in the area need to rise up and get rid of the superintendent, get rid of the Board of Education, and really and fight for a real good education. But the people have to want it. And also deal with Common Core. I mean, these are the things that really has to make our kids learn for the 21st century. What we want our kids not to be just graduating from high school, but we want them graduating with a plus grade average. 3.5, 4.0. We want our kids to go to college. We want our kids to go to studying how to be an engineer, taught how to be an engineer, taught how to be a science. Not just say, I want to graduate. Now, what's your major? Psych major. A history major. We want our kids to do some great things and achieve great things. During your time, Joe, I mean, back in, I guess, when you were coming up, in the 60s under, when we had, the President John F. Kennedy, that generation, they talked about doing for their country.
Right.
He talked about, ask not what your country can do for you or what you can do for your country. Right. And achieving great things like going into space, going to the moon, that we can achieve these things. We can be great. Martin Luther King talked about, and it's definitely in the 60s that, we can be great. We can do great things. And, this generation, I don't think they have the belief that they can do great things. But you also have individuals that are not telling the kids that you are great. You can do great things. Give a kid give a kid a basketball, give a kid a football, let them be entertained. Let them sing and dance and everything will be all right. Let them play basketball, let them play football, and hopefully 1 out of a million, you'll be all right. You can make the NBA. Now, that's how it is.
Right.
And that's being taught. And these kids, they don't understand. Yes, you can. You're no different from that generation of the younger generation, the 60s, that believe that they can go to the moon. You're no different. Matter of fact, you have everything on the technology, more technology right now than they had in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I think we've raised kids. We raise kids to feel good about themselves, and you should feel good about yourself because you know what, God created you, He loves you, great, but you come into the world very unshaped, very imperfect.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of discipline, a lot of formation. Mm-hmm. But people don't want to get in people's face and say, you need this, you need that, you're falling short. They feel that they have to pass them along for their self-esteem.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a point when that self-esteem will only go so far when you don't know,
Yeah. And everybody gets an award.
Everybody gets an award.
Everybody, if you were having an event, oh, yeah, you deserve an award, so we give you an award for failure.
Yeah. When that rocket ship blows up on the planet, said, well, that award's not doing you too good.
Yeah.
There are probably like self-esteem people who, big self-esteem people who built the Obamacare website,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely that.
Oh, man, but I got
Yeah, but I got an award.
I was great.
Yeah,
I got an award for this.
Yeah. So, we have a major problem here in our society still, especially dealing with young people. And I think that, one of the things that are different from the certain generations, they are, a lot of people say, well, this generation, they have so much on the internet, there's so much the things that they can, they're exposed to. Where, my generation, I'm just saying I'm 46 years old. So my generation, in your generation, Joe, you're older than me, but, we only had maybe, 10 channels?
Oh, yeah.
Back in the, I guess, 70s, they might have had 6 channels and 5 channels.
Oh, man, I'm so old. I remember we had 3 plus
3 channels.
Then they brought in public television.
ABC,
so we got 4,
CBS, and NBC.
And then we went to, then we got UHF. That
UHF.
was like the greatest thing. You had to get had to go out and buy another antenna.
Yeah.
And it came in crappy, and you had to somebody had hold that. Yeah, just keep your hand on it.
Yeah.
But then we got wrestling and roller derby.
Yes.
And we got 3 Stooges. I mean, it was.
And now we have a younger generation that's so exposed. They got about 400. They have about 300 to 400 channels.
And nothing's on.
And nothing's. And what they're watching now, they're eating is foolishness. And whatever's on television, because we have a generation that says it's acceptable because it's on television. You can watch it. And we're sending our kids to watch the craziest things on television. Here is the remote control. Go in there, take something to eat with you, drink some soda, and here's the remote control, and watch whatever you want to watch because it's on television. It's okay to do. It's okay to watch because it's on television. And why is that? And that's some things that we need to really discuss. And why our kids are watching you're giving your kid the most violent video games, and what's the video games that the one that was the most violent one I can't think of the name of it. Yeah, no, not Call of Duty. What's the other one where they're
Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto. You're carjacking people. You're running, shooting people, and you got kids that are 6 years old, 7 years old. You get in watching this, and you have parents allowing their kids to watch it. You have a generation that's been brought up on Grand Theft Auto. So when your child goes out there and abuse someone, shoot someone, whatever, well, what did you watch with your kid? Well, I had Grand Theft Auto. I had Call of Duty. I had about 400 or 500 cable channels to watch at night till 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock till I went to bed. So, there's so much violence and so much distraction for a younger generation. Even when you look at the generation, things have happened. It's really terrible. And we really have to have some type of revolution within our own country. I truly believe that, to change this, because it's only going to get worse. What type of revolution would that be? I have some good ideas. But we'll discuss that some other time. But there's definitely something has to change because we're living and we're going to a generation. We're going to have thousands and thousands, millions of kids. They are uneducated. They're going to be more violent than ever. And, they're going to go to jail or they're going to be killing themselves. And we see now in all the major cities what's happening. You have young kids. You got kids in Burlington killing themselves. You have kids in the inner city shooting themselves. You have kids all over the world just doing the most craziest things for attention. And you have that other generation of young people that think they're great, really not that great.
Right. Daryl.
So we're going into a station break.
9:16, right? Linn Washington coming back.
Yeah, we're going to go to a quick break, and you'll hear Linn Washington next. This is OnFire Show.
Primal Gym has the experience in martial arts training, fighting, and workout, and more. Primal Gym is coming to Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Mercer County. Let Jim McCann know you heard this right here on HamiltonRadio.net. And for complete updates, keep tuned to HamiltonRadio.net and PrimalGym.com for the grand opening of Primal Gym in Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Mercer County, New Jersey. That's Primal Gym, PRIMALGYM.com. Again, PRIMALGYM.com. That's PrimalGym.com.
This is the On Fire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
So, you want to get imaged? Well, cool. That's what we do. Whether you're smooth jazz, rock, or just plain want the guy next door, then we got a deal for you.
Whatever you need, you know what I'm saying?
At JeffRadio.com, we provide quality, affordable voiceovers that rock.
Is there a juicy part in it for me?
All at a price that you can afford.
Can you believe him?
JeffRadio.com.
A very smart cookie.
Check out our demos today.
I love it.
Get Jersey's favorite hits every day on Hamilton Radio.
Better than any other station.
Welcome back to the On Fire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
Hey, you're back with the On Fire Show. You're back with the On Fire Show. It's about 9:19. Here with me and Joe, and Neil is in Greater Florida right now. He's playing with Mickey and Minnie, and in the Magic City.
In the Magic Kingdom.
I can't call it Magic City. This is the Magic City too. But we have a very special guest on, Mr. Linn Washington, formerly of the Philadelphia Tribune. He is a great news reporter. He's also a professor at Temple University. Mr. Linn Washington is basically we're going to interview him and talk about what's happening in Algeria. He went to Algeria a few weeks ago, and I saw him right before he was left in Camden at the Riverline, and he was taking the Riverline to Trenton, and he was taking the Riverline. Then he was going to take the Trenton train all the way to I think New York City or Newark Airport. But we have Mr. Linn Washington, a great reporter online. How you doing, Mr. Washington?
Hi, how you doing, Daryl?
Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about your trip and what happened and some of the things that you've seen over there in Algeria?
Yeah, well, what happened, I ended up in Algeria. Actually, I was going over there to do some reporting on a situation, a very volatile situation that few Americans, and actually few people in the world know much about. It involves a country called the Western Sahara. And the Western Sahara is known as the last colony in Africa. A country called Morocco invaded the Western Sahara in 1975 and took it over in violation of international law and all of that. And as a result of that, there are nearly 200,000 people living in refugee camps in southern Algeria. Very basic living. I mean, the houses, actually lived in one of those houses. The houses have no running water, no indoor toilets. The people are actually, just living in the desert. So it's a really a bad situation.
Well,
yeah.
Tell us, how could this happen in the 21st century?
Well, it happens for two reasons. One, it happens because France, the government that is now beating his chest saying that, we got to have freedom of the press and freedom of expression and, represent values of democracy, is backing Morocco. It gives Morocco protection in the United Nations. It stops economic sanctions being leveled on Morocco. and is allowing Morocco to run amok. And unfortunately, I have to say that the government of the United States has been tacitly supporting this. So on the one hand, the federal government says that they absolutely oppose the gross human rights violations that are going on by Morocco in the Western Sahara. But at the same time, they think Morocco is making a sincere proposal to grant autonomy to the Western Sahara under Moroccan control. The current state of international law is that the United Nations is supposed to conduct a referendum in the Western Sahara where the people who were in the Western Sahara in 1975 will be able to vote for complete independence of their nation or to be in some sort of alliance with Morocco. And since 1975, Morocco has reneged on over 24 agreements to hold this referendum. So the short answer to your question is it happens in the 21st century because powerful nations allow it to happen.
Now, can I ask you a question? What religion is in Algeria?
What religion?
Yes.
The religion in Algeria is Muslim, Islamic.
Mm-hmm.
The religion in the Western Sahara is Islamic. The religion in Morocco is Islamic. So this is a intra-Islam issue, if you want to look at it from a religious perspective.
Wow. And so is there could have been a race problem, or is it is it Arab or African and Morocco, or what is the race issue? Is there a race issue between the two, Morocco and Western Sahara?
Well, it's more a issue. Well, let me put it this way: Morocco is a monarchy. Morocco is run by a king. So your question of how does this happen in the 21st century? It's a king who has granted some, let's just say, some freedoms and democracy to his people, but he's still running amok. The government over there, according to U.S. State Department human rights reports, is thoroughly corrupt. Is there a race issue? Yes, there is. Within Morocco itself, there are attacks on on Africans who come from below the Sahara, the more darker-skinned ones. The people of the Western Sahara go from black, seriously dark brown black, all the way up to persons who look like they could be from Europe. So there's a real diversity there. While there are racial components to this issue, this is really just a basic issue of adherence to international law and supports the democratic principles. The paramount one is the right to vote.
Yeah.
And that is what is not being done in the Western Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe wanted to ask you a question.
Right, because I was just following up
Sure.
to Dallas, because I'm reading the article the articles that you posted, and there's a group called the Sahrawi. So who are they? They just happen to be the people they live there, or are they a distinct ethnic group or a cultural group, or just happen to be the name given to people who live in that area?
Well, that's the name that they have given to themselves because the country historically has been primarily composed of nomads. So, these are people who live in the desert and move around. So Sahrawi is like Sahara because it's part of the Sahara Desert, and it's the people that are there. Ethnically, I think they're like Berber. There's Berber people were those who lived in the Morocco, Western Sahara, some parts of Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. And then there's a combination of those people from the southern, the country south of the Western Sahara, which is Mauritania.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the name Sahrawi is the name that the people themselves call themselves. They're the indigenous people there.
Yeah.
When Morocco invaded the country in 1975, they not only went in with military, but they went in with about 300,000 citizens. So they tried to literally colonize the place and change the demographic. by outnumbering the Sahrawi people there.
Wow.
And Morocco now controls 85% of the country, including its phosphate and iron ore mines, which makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and its coastal fisheries, which make billions of dollars a year. And to solidify in their control, Morocco has built a wall through the Western Sahara. It's 1,600 miles long, and it's guarded by 100,000 soldiers. It costs about $3 million a day to operate, and the money that they use to operate it, they're plundering from the country. And along the one side of this wall, actually it's a berm of sand and stone and metal, are 7 million landmines. And because the desert is always shifting, these landmines are, drifting out into the desert, and animals and people are stepping on them and dying or getting maimed.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you about the resources. And when we talk about Africa, we talk about what happened in 1884, 85, the Berlin Conference, when the Europeans came into Africa, and we look what's going on in the British, and then we look with the China and American. And we have to talk definitely about the resources that Morocco has came in and did to Algeria and the Western Sahara. I mean, it's so what you're saying is that when Morocco came in 1975, they went after the resources that basically were billions of dollars.
Now, the resources worth billions of dollars. Just a little history. You referenced 1884, and that's when there was the Berlin Conference where European nations carved up Africa and said, I want this, I want that, I want that. Well, in this I want period in the 1880s, Spain took over that particular area. Mm-hmm. Spain had controlled the Canary Islands, which are about maybe 100 miles or so off the coast, and they wanted a presence on the coast of Africa. They were only able to secure the coastal plain right along the strip. They weren't able to control the interior of the country. The Sahrawi fought them off, and they had been fighting off the European colonialists and others since the 1400s. They fought off the Portuguese. They fought off Spain. France kept trying to come in. They fought them off. So it wasn't until 1930 that Spain actually was able to consolidate its control of the country further inland. And the Sahrawi, every 10 years or so would, have an uprising and fighting. And so eventually around 75, Spain said, I'm tired, we're pulling out. That was around the time of the death of Franco, the dictator that they had there. And at that point, Morocco starts claiming that the Western Sahara was always a part of Morocco, and they traced it back to some sultan in Morocco in the 1800s and 1700s. But the International Court of Justice ruled against Morocco in 1975, and then the next day Morocco just invaded the country. So here's a country that has been absolutely defiant in terms of its adherence to international law. And the countries of the world who claim that international law has to be followed have been giving carte blanche to Morocco to run amok. And part of that running amok has been plundering of the resources. The fisheries, as I said, where they catch fish out of the ocean, generates $4 billion a year. Now, 95% of the people who work in the fisheries in the Western Sahara are not the Sahrawi people. They face massive unemployment and other forms of discrimination. The people who work in the fisheries are Moroccans. Moroccans pay the Moroccan government pays the Moroccans who are living in the Western Sahara double salaries, and they give them housing allowances and, come here, we'll make your life good for you, but just you got to stay here. So there's exploitation of the resources, some of which are being done by American companies, some by French companies and other European companies. And all of this is done in violation of international law. International law says that the country occupying a territory cannot plunder the resources. But that's what has been happening for the last 40 years in the Western Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
Well, other than I'm learning about this now. It's clearly not a front burner issue here in the United States. What can we do about this?
Yeah, what can we do about this?
Well, one thing is just to become aware of the issue, because you're absolutely correct in saying it is not a front burner issue. I mean, even people who consider themselves very attuned to what's going on in the world have no clue that this thing even exists. When you mention Western Sahara, most people say, oh, that's the western part of the Sahara Desert. I know that's a desert somewhere. So they don't even know that there's a country there. They don't even know that there's a dispute there, a festering dispute. So one thing is to become aware of it. The next thing is to, if you are so moved, to contact members of Congress and say, hey, we would like to see America siding with international law. The people who want an independent Sahara, Western Sahara, have already committed themselves to democratic rule. This is not going to be socialism or communism or dictatorship where they're going to create their own monarchy. And they've committed themselves to have a market economy, a capitalist-based economy. So the people who want to have an independent Western Sahara have committed themselves to the political system and the economic system that is dominant in the West.
Yeah.
So what's the problem here?
Yeah.
The problem is these little deals that are cut in back rooms. And listen, the tensions there are rising. And the Sahrawi say, if we don't get the vote within the next couple of years, we're going to go back to war.
Mm-hmm.
And if a war breaks out again, because there was a war there from 1975 to 1991, 20,000 Sahrawi, 20,000 people from the Western Sahara, beat the Moroccan army of 200,000 to a standstill. And let's understand that Morocco was joined by France, which used its air force to bomb the people, and many of the weapons that the Moroccans used in that war were American weapons.
Mm.
So America is not going to be immune in terms of being able to stay out of this war. It's going to drain more of our resources. So here in Jersey, where our cars are in the auto repair shop because of massive potholes, we're not going to be able to fill up our potholes or get property tax relief. Because there will be less money from the federal government that should be coming down to the states for the people of the United States to use versus causing mayhem and murder in different places of the world.
Well, is there anybody in the world who has a vested interest or any kind of an alignment with the Sahrawi people to come to their aid, or are they going to be hung out to dry on their own?
Well, currently, Algeria has come to their aid. Algeria is right next to Morocco. Algeria and Morocco, although both former French colonies, have had tense relationships because in the early 60s, Morocco attacked Algeria, saying that their little slice of Algeria was a part of their ancient kingdom. So here, Morocco is a country that invades other countries. So the Algerians have been very supportive of the Sahrawi. The African Union, the organization that is composed of all countries in Africa, are supportive of the Sahrawi. The only country in the African continent that is not a member of the African Union is Morocco. Mm-hmm. And it walked out in the mid-'80s because the predecessor of that organization, the Organization of African Unity, was telling Morocco that you have to follow the UN mandate. And from my understanding, about 84 countries around the world have recognized the Sahrawi government in exile, the Arab Democratic Republic of the Western Sahara, or whatever. So I can't remember the name. SADR.
Oh, okay.
So there are a number of countries in the world that recognize the Western Sahara, but unfortunately it's not France and it's not the United States. And those two countries, as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, when the United Nations General Assembly says we want a vote there, the Security Council has to authorize it. And thus far, France has been able to thwart any action coming out of the Security Council to resolve this festering issue that could flare up in a shooting war within months, or if not within a few years.
This African Union, wasn't that was supported by Muammar Gaddafi at one time?
Well, Libya was a member of it. South Africa is a member of it. Nigeria, Ethiopia. I mean, they're all countries that are part of this African Union. Now, let's be clear. I mean, there's some problems in Africa. It's not it's not the paradise, but there's problems in the Americas. There's problems in America. So the little people, and that's what we have to keep a focus on. The little people all over the world are getting stepped on.
Yeah.
Here in America, we have income inequality where, hundreds of people make more than hundreds of millions of people. And yes, you should be able to rise as high as you can in a society. But when you have a society that structurally consigns some people to the bottom to suffer, where children are going to bed hungry, while restaurants in downtown Philadelphia, where I just came from, are throwing food away, there's something wrong there. And again, it's the little people, the working class, the middle class, that are taking it in the neck.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. I mean, if you're working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours, you should be able to have some comforts in life and not see your money siphoned off in taxes and fees and other things like we're seeing now.
Earlier on, talked about, I guess Morocco's main interest in there is the wealth in minerals and the fisheries that they have. Who are the major international customers or export nations that they do business with, or is all that consumed back in Morocco?
Well, say this. The phosphate. Phosphate is a raw material that's used for fertilizers, and the phosphate that comes out of the Western Sahara is the purest phosphate in the world. There are American companies, I can't think of right off the name, I have to go into my notes, that are importing this phosphate to be processed into fertilizers. And companies all over Europe are doing business in either the phosphates, the iron ore, or the fisheries. I mean, a lot of fish go into France and go into Germany and in other European countries. And the wrinkle here is that it is suspected that the Western Sahara has some oil in it. And if they find oil there, then it's just going to be really crazy to get this thing resolved because, as we know and have seen in so many places around the world, oil just trumps common sense.
Right.
What's going on with this XL pipeline? I mean, I just have the opinion that I don't think it's a good thing to build a oil pipeline that has the dirtiest oil product in the world to run across the midsection of this country where underneath is a vast, it's almost like an inland sea. It's an aquifer, and if that aquifer gets polluted, millions of people who depend on that water from that aquifer for drinking water as well as for fertile, to keep farmlands fertile, we're going to be in big trouble as a country.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, how did you find out about this and organizing the trip? Was there someone that called you up and said, Ms. Linn Washington, we need to, did you go to? Would you like to go to?
It's funny that you should.
Because I always wanted to know
in that way because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I got a call from a guy that I knew, actually a guy who I used to write for. He was an editor of a website that I was writing for in the 1990s. He's now with an organization in Baltimore that actually put this trip together, and they wanted to bring in some journalists. So he called me up and said, would you be interested in taking part in this trip? My first response was yes, and then when I started looking at everything that we would do and where we were going, I was like, maybe I said yes too quickly. But I wasn't sure if I was actually going to get back. And then the front part of your question, how did I first learn about this? I first learned about this in the mid-'70s when I, was just reading and trying to better understand the world around me. I heard about this little dispute in the Western Sahara and followed it for 5, 6, 7 years, and then it just fell off my radar screen. And I hadn't realized that this was a festering issue that was going forward. In fact, I was in Morocco in 2009, and some people were saying, "Oh, well, you need to go down to our southern provinces, down below Ajadar and into our southern provinces. You would really like it." And I didn't realize that they were referencing the Western Sahara. It's against the Moroccan law to mention the Western Sahara, call it the Western Sahara. And definitely it's against the law to say that that place should have independence. Mm-hmm. I mean, they put people in jail and beat you up badly.
Wow.
If you do that.
Yeah.
So much for, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press. It doesn't exist in Morocco, and this is something that is stated in U.S. State Department reports. The U.S. State Department has issued 6 reports on Morocco, all of them very critical of what not only is going on in the Western Sahara, but what's going on in Morocco. They've issued 6 reports since 2007. Mm-hmm. Yet over 200 members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives, are saying, hey, let Morocco continue to do what it's doing. But many of these people have been recipients of trips paid for by the King of Morocco, and he treats you well when you go over there. You stay in palaces, you eat the best food, you can have pretty much what you want. Just let me leave it at that. And he's been able to buy, don't let me say that. He's been able to generate favor. I don't want to say that he's buying favor because I don't know. I haven't seen a check written to somebody and that person endorses cashes the check. But I do know that Morocco spends more money on lobbying in the United States than any country on the African continent. 54 countries in Africa.
Oh, wow. Now, that's your question. One last question. When you was over there, did you talk to the people in that area and, Sahara, and did they give you any comments? Were they afraid? Were there any tensions when you were over there? People.
Okay. Well, let me be clear. When I was over there, quote unquote, I was in southern Algeria. We initially went to Algiers, which is the capital of Algeria. That's on the Mediterranean Sea. Then we flew 1,000 miles southwest down into the desert to a place called Tindorf. And outside the city of Tindorf are 5 refugee camps that are filled by the Sahrawi people. Mm-hmm. So we lived in one of the refugee camps. And yes, we did talk to people. Talked to one woman who had been living in these refugee camps since 1975 when she was chased out of Morocco, and they had to travel across the desert most times at night because the Moroccan Air Force was just, shooting people down as they were going across the desert. Now, these are not people with guns shooting back at the jets. These were the jets just going after unarmed people. I talked to young folks. I talked to one guy who runs a website there called the Sahrawi Voice to give voice to the young people in the camps. Talked to government officials all the way up to the president of the Western Sahara government in exile, and all of them to a person said that, hey, we just want the right to vote. Now, the government in exile says if the vote of the people says they want to align with Morocco, then we're done as a government. We're not going to go and fight. We just want to represent the will of the people and allow our people to have that democratic opportunity to vote.
So you're saying that they would want to vote in an election that was essentially a Western Sahara and Moroccan vote, not national, not independence and separation. And
no. The vote, as agreed to by the United Nations. Let me just roll it back again. A little history and background. When Spain was getting ready to leave the Western Sahara, it was a colony. Mm-hmm. And the United Nations had told Spain in 1966, that it had to decolonize the place. When in 75, when it was withdrawing, Spain agreed to conduct a referendum. Morocco said no. So Spain and Morocco cut a private deal, which allowed Morocco to take over when Spain left. The Sahrawi and Morocco fought a war. That war ended around 1990. That ended with a ceasefire, and the ceasefire was centered on an agreement to hold the referendum. Now, to your question, the referendum is to have two items on it. One, do you want to create an independent country of the Western Sahara, or do you want to integrate with Morocco? Those are the two issues that are on the ballot. Morocco, over the years, has said, well, we don't know who can vote. I mean, our people who are now living there should be able to vote. They came up with a whole lot of excuses, roadblocks. And then finally, in 1995, Morocco said, well, the only thing that we will agree to on the referendum is whether you have autonomy, meaning you have a little freedom, but you're still controlled by us, or you're totally integrated with us. And the Sahrawis were saying, well, listen, we've gone through this whole process to allow the question of independence to be put before the voters. So now that's what a stalemate is. Morocco says we want to have, we'll give you autonomy, or we'll absorb you. We don't want to hear nothing about independence. And the Sahrawi was saying, well, listen, the vote has to include something on independence. And like I said, that's where, the hang up is now. Mm-hmm. And that's what the U.S. government is sanctioning. We're sanctioning a country that is colonizing another country, and the colonization is absolutely brutal. I mean, I've seen, when I was there, I saw a number of video clips taken by people in the Western Sahara where women and children who were taking part in peaceful demonstrations, almost like with the hands up, don't shoot, and Moroccan police, plainclothes, as well as riot-clad police will come up with billy clubs, sticks, whips, and just beat these people bloody. I mean, it's just outrageously offensive what's going on. But again, it's going on, and because it's nobody knows what's going on and what's happening, it's taking place every single day there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Linn Washington, we know you have a full schedule, and I thank you for coming on the show.
Okay, Daryl, thank you very much, and to your co-host, thank you. I always enjoy talking on your show because I get some great questions from you guys. So keep the questions coming, and whoever you got on there, question them hard.
Oh, yeah. Is there any other thing you're working on?
Well, no, just, the regular going to work, teaching classes. I'm writing some articles on the Western Sahara, so the Daily News is going to run something. Philadelphia Daily News is going to run something in a couple of weeks, and hopefully I can interest a few other publications on doing some reportage on this.
Well, you definitely have the OnFire News Network and the website, and, and you're definitely welcome to put more articles, and we'll definitely push it out around the country, around the state.
Well, I'll talk to you off air on that.
All right.
Hey, gentlemen, have a nice evening. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Take care. Hi, this is OnFire News Network. We're having a good time. We're having a great show. That was Mr. Linn Washington from formerly from the Philadelphia Tribune. Now he's been a professor at Temple University, and he just talked about what's happening in the Sahara, Western Sahara. I mean, Joe, this guy is a phenomenal reporter.
Yeah, and it's when we're coming at this cold, and he's right. I mean, when you talk, I've known about this issue for about a day and a half now, mm-hmm. and I really just actually looked at it before we got in the car to drive up here. And Western Sahara, I thought of it as like a region, like North Philly. It's just a part of, but I didn't realize that there was even a country called Western Sahara. But there's an excellent website here. It's called films, FILMS, culturesofresistance.org. And then if you go /WS-timeline, and I put that up on the chat room. We can put it up on our website here. But it's a timeline of everything that he said going back to 1884 when Spain colonized the region. Then it actually became a Spanish province, the various things that happened that he had talked about, and then some of the dirty dealing that went on in the 80s and the 90s that a lot of double dealing going on, but it's a pretty, easy to read and easy to absorb timeline. So films, cultures of resistance, and I'm not sure what these cultures of resistance are, so I'm going to investigate that more. But again, you've seen this all over the world where there are these isolated, smaller ethnic, indigenous groups, ethnic groups who are, who are overwhelmed, and they're screaming out for autonomy. Mm-hmm. Even they're not oppressed, but even things like in California, where there's going to be there's a 6th California movement because they said, all these different, such a long state that people in different areas say we have different interests, and different needs than what they're saying. We want in Sacramento.
Yeah.
So I think it's a part, it's a part of a larger trend as well of local people, local cultures looking to really take back control of their lives.
Yeah, and control of their resources.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what it says. Morocco coming in, and it's have a making close over $4 billion a year in the fishing resources, and people want to live. People, we're in 2015 now. People they want to control their own resources. They want to take care of their families. They want to, they want to live a good, decent life.
Right. I mean, back in the day when, South Africa and the apartheid,
Mm-hmm.
Was going on, people were saying boycott South African diamonds. It was pretty easy to boycott South African diamonds. I mean, they were the largest producer, but it was easy to trace the track of that. That's what I was going on with that question. It said, what do they create there? And it's phosphorus, which basically it's an ingredient, it's a raw material,
mm-hmm.
and it's used in other. So, are there means, free market means that people can say, well, we're going to boycott this and drive, and I don't know if that's possible with a product like that is not, that's used as an ingredient in something as innocuous as fertilizer, but. I'm looking for free market solutions that people are upset to say, how can we as people bring pressure against this as opposed to, simply, writing to our congressman and getting a nice letter back from him.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, what can we do as Americans, to step up to the plate? And I definitely think America has influence around the world. And I'm sure that our politicians, whether Congress, senators, or even our president of the United States could have influence. Oprah has influence.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of business people and people who are millionaires, billionaires have the political power or control media. As such, that we, as say, hey, OnFire show, OnFire News Network, we have some means of pushing out the resources and talking about these issues that are happening around the world. And his article is on OnFire News Network. If you go to the OnFire News Network and you go in, and his article is on there, Mr. Linn Washington, he's talking about what's happening in the Western Sahara and Algeria, and you can find it. Just go look up the article and go to our onfirenn.com, and you can type up. You can just go in and type up Mr. Linn Washington or Algeria or Western Sahara. I mean, you can talk Morocco. You can find that article. It was posted, I believe, yesterday, and it's a great article. And so we have influence. We can make some changes. And one of the things that we should be influencing and really speaking out against, because the problem, I've talked to a lot of people in the city in the past week or two. And, and it's definitely the streets of Trenton and Camden is about education. We can no longer allow our children to be uneducated. We can no longer allow people with records to come out and who have served their time and they need jobs to take care of their family. And it's almost like that if a person goes, once a person gets a record, they come out, they've done their time, they're trying to get jobs to take care of their family, and they can't get jobs because they have a record. Well, that's wrong.
Right.
And it's like back in the 60s, if you were, if you're African American, you can't work here, you can't shop here, you can't buy your clothes here, you can't eat at our restaurant, you can't do certain things. And if you were Jewish at one time, you couldn't do certain things. If you were a Catholic, if you were, Irish, and so the thing is that where people here will have records and a lot of young kids and who are going to prison, both black and white. You have a lot of individuals who use drugs and went to prison, have records, but they were all, they did their time. And they turned out to be decent individuals, and they want to give back to their communities and take care of their families, because these individuals have children, but they can't get decent jobs because of their records. And that's one of the things that we have to make aware of what's really happening. And because we're a Judeo-Christian society based and that within that Christian society, as the Bible talks about, forgiveness and helping people and loving people, and we should be doing that, especially our own Americans, making sure our kids get the best education that they need, making sure people get the best type of jobs they can do and take care of their families, and also we should understand, like what Barbara Ames is doing and Bill Ames are doing, understanding government. And once you get to understand government, your world is so open. I mean, and that's what we need. We need individuals like Barbara and Bill Ames, other individuals. You see Barbara Gonzalez, Mr. Hathaway, ourselves, and who are, you can look at us as great. We're out there. We're patriots. What was the other guy? Murray Sabin is a patriot.
Yeah.
Because he talks about the federal government. He talks about the Federal Reserve and how to better themselves and better yourself, understanding what the Federal Reserve does and how the Federal Reserve control everything. It controls your money.
Right.
And resources. Mm-hmm. And I mean, these are individuals that are out there. Great patriots are speaking out about issues and making people aware, making Americans aware. Mm-hmm. We're talking about these things, and also Steve Lonigan, who was on a show. Dr. Eck is a great patriot.
Right.
She's out there helping, fighting against Obamacare, dealing with health care, getting people who are low income, making sure they get the best quality health care that they deserve.
Yeah, well, I think, the word patriot gets bandied around. We get this idea that it's always going to be somebody, with a gun, going someplace and going to war. And that's not it. A patriot's someone who really cares about, their home and the people around them and the culture around them. And I think the people who listen to this show mm-hmm. are patriots. Some of them are not going to be flag wavers. They're going to be libertarians. They're going to be like, I'm not a nationalist. But they are. And people like Jay Edgar, people like Patrick.
Yes.
These are guys who spend a lot of time worrying about, the good of everybody. And you think, well, we're libertarians. We care about ourselves. No, we really care about creating a world and a culture where we can all prosper, mm-hmm. where we can peacefully get along, where we can learn how to do business, we can learn how to trade and learn how to create with each other and make the world a better place. It's not all about I don't care about you, I'm a libertarian over there. No, because nobody achieves anything in a vacuum.
Yeah.
We only have a limited amount of intelligence, a limited amount of strength, a limited amount of energy. We all need to work together to create something.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the Libertarian Party, and especially Patrick McKnight and Jay Edgar. Patrick McKnight was at the Dr. Bernard Lafayette event that we had a couple of weeks ago. And Patrick asked some real good questions, and he's asking me, he said, Darryl, how can we fix this problem? How can we deal with the apathy, that we have in our society, especially in the streets? And I say this: we have to keep on fighting, we have to keep on pushing, we have to keep on having events in the inner city areas and talking to people. We have to continue to develop relationships with people in the city, whether they're black, white, or Spanish. We have to. People who are poor, working poor, who are struggling every day to get ahead, and making sure that that generation and their younger generation and their children get the best quality of education, making sure that the young kids are coming out of high school and graduating, going to college, making sure they're, if you make a mistake, that you don't have to go to jail if you make a mistake as a young kid. And that's one of the things I talk about. Earlier in my activism, Joe, is what happens to a child if he makes a mistake? This child isn't promised to get a great education. He's not promised health care. He's not promised that, he he might not, this is not problems that he might get shot because he probably, or he might get stabbed, or he's not promised to have food on his table. Right. These things. He's not promised that. But he's promised one thing. If he makes a mistake, he's going to jail.
Right.
That's the one promise these kids have. That if you make one mistake, you go to jail. And that's a shame.
Now, I was working on a blog about this, but there's two articles that came to my attention the last week about this. Mm-hmm. One was in the Washington Post, and one was in a magazine called The American Conservative. And America, which represents 5% of the world's population, has 25% of the world's incarcerated people. And where we've got about 750, 730 or something like that incarcerated people per 100,000. The next in line is Russia with like 450. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible amount of people.
And they send you to Siberia.
Jail. And I had talked about this before, but there's another idea. We came up with this idea of punishing people for crimes through imprisonment. Mm-hmm. But there's another way of looking at that. Okay, if people do commit crimes, it's called restorative justice. Great, I did something to you. I've done something to you. Let's figure out a way that I can make it better to you. Instead of being locked up in prison with a bunch of bad guys for years on end, ruining my chance of getting a job, ruining anything that I'm going to learn. Okay, let's find a way of you making this better for the person that you hurt. Mm-hmm. And then we wipe the slate clean and you move on from there. Yeah. I mean, at some point, I guess if somebody is a habitual repeat offender, we probably need to remove them from society. Mm-hmm. But
send them to Siberia.
Send them to Siberia.
Send them to Russia.
Send them to fight for Western Sahara.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're in the army, kid.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's if you look at that, what happened in the '60s? That's what they were doing. Individuals decided that they were selling drugs and being violent. They sent them off to the military.
I have a very good friend who he's
sent to Vietnam.
He's about your age, Daryl, and in the early
26?
40s. Yeah, 26. Yeah. And he was a little bit of a crazy kid. He was always in one trouble or another.
At 46?
And no, when he was like 16, 17. And the judge told him, he said, "Okay, you got two things. One, you go to jail. Or you go in the Army." He went to the Army.
Well, I think that's what is needed sometimes in our society. If a young kid, if the kid wants to act up, and where do you want to go? Jail or military? Most people will say military, but we have the liberals here are so corrupt and crazy. He doesn't deserve to go to the military. Well, I guess he's going to jail.
Right.
And so it's we still have that problem in our society, and I think that military does help young kids, help people out.
No, I mean it certainly taught him
mm-hmm.
self-reliance.
Mm-hmm.
It also taught him to rely on the people that around him and to protect their back.
Mm-hmm.
He rose. He made it into the Rangers, the elite forces of the United States Army, and was a staff sergeant there. So he certainly grew beyond where he.
Did he go to Vietnam?
No, he actually he was in the Middle East and he was in Somalia and some other. He was he was younger than that.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the conflicts of the late '80s and the early '90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Our smaller wars.
The unending wars.
Unending wars. This is On Fire Show. Like you all to give us a call at 609-800-1003. That's 609-800-1003. This is HamiltonRadio.net, and if you want to check us out on we go to our chat room. You can check it out at HamiltonRadio.net chat room On Fire Show. We got about 25 minutes to go. We're going into a station break. We'll be right back. This is the On Fire Show. Yeah, and we're out.
Fire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
If you want whole foods and more natural products while making your family healthier, visit 2285475.myforevergreen.org. That's 2285475.myforevergreen.org. Do it today.
Welcome back to the On Fire Show on HamiltonRadio.net.
It just throws me for a loop.
That throws you for a loop. Throw me for a loop. Loopity-loop. Hey, we're back with On Fire Show, and whatever throws Joe for loops throws me for a loop. Yeah, and we're having some fun today. We're getting loopy. We want everybody to give us a call. Maybe it's the popcorn. Maybe because I was eating the cheese popcorn. Yeah. Oh, if you want to give us a call, have something to say, something to talk about, give us a call, 609-800-1003. This is the On Fire Show. And, we had like I said, Professor Linn Washington on from Temple University, who's went over to the Algeria. And, it was one of those interesting. He's a definitely great reporter. He's definitely going to be on the show more and talking about some of the issues and things that he's been writing about. One of his newspapers he writes for us online is Can't Believe This Is Happening. And it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. Now, one of the things that what's happening right now, I think, is Obama still doing his State of the Union address. And how long does that last?
I think it's usually about like 45 minutes.
45. So it's over.
Right.
Yes.
And then the Republicans are going to do
who's doing it? Was
somebody Chowder or something
Chowder?
Like that?
Not Boehner?
Not Boehner.
Oh, my God. The boringest Boehner. Boring Boehner. And so it's one of those things that, I have to check out definitely when I get to the house, his speech. And it's one of the interesting speeches because, he's talking about a lot of different things. If anyone has listening to his speech, give us a call and tell me what you think about Obama's State of the Union speech at 609-800-1003. Give us a call at 609-800-1003. So, Joe, you got anything going on this weekend exciting?
Maybe putting in a washing machine.
I heard about that.
Yeah, we don't go in the washing machine story, but the washing machine is down.
You don't want to get shot. Oh, Joe, you don't want to get shot.
No shot, no.
Yeah, you might get a text.
But, we do have some news. We are, after, months of trying this, we're available in a lot of places now to listen to the On Fire
On
show.
Fire, that's where you are.
As of, in a couple of days, the On Fire show will be appearing in the iTunes store. You can listen to the podcast for free. They're up there now.
For free? Nothing's for free. You got to pay 10 cents.
10 cents? Says free on mine. So, but we are on. If you want to hear the On Fire show back episodes, this one will be up there. I'll be up there by this weekend. Mm-hmm. You can check them out on iTunes. Mm-hmm. Look for On Fire Show on Blogger. Go to Hamilton Radio. .net. There's a page there as well as
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. Right? And Podomatic, which is serving these. So it looks like we'll be up on Stitcher. I'm waiting for an email to come back and do that. So, what we want to do is want this show to be heard and want it to be heard wherever you want to hear it, when you want to hear it.
That's right.
And we're really out there fighting for liberty, fighting for human decency, and so you want to listen in your car, you want to listen walking down the street, you want to listen while you're jogging, while you're riding the bicycle, whatever you're doing, we want to be there for you. So, but we are on iTunes, and it's the notification I said it will be appearing in the iTunes store. Probably by Friday at the latest. Mm-hmm. And so look for it if you're an iTunes user. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's so exciting that the On Fire News Network, and we're growing, and the show is growing, and our news sites are growing. And we're going to, matter of fact, our news site, On Fire News Network, it should have the YouTube channel up. We want you to also like us on Facebook. Go to On Fire News Network on your Facebook and like us, and go to, what's the Twitter? You had a Twitter, Joe, right? Yeah, we have an On Fire News Network Twitter account. If you want to take a look at that, I'll look that up for you and make sure I have the right handle there. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Oh, wow. That's one of the comments in the chat. Oh, okay. The Twitter, yeah. Follow us on Twitter at On Fire News NN. On Fire News NN. So that's our. I haven't saw that yet. That's our Twitter feed. Yeah. I haven't seen it. Twitter. There we are. And there's. Okay. Wow. Manny, Mo, and Jack. Minnie, Mo, and Jack. Which one is Minnie? Here, Mo. Hey, Mo. Oh, okay. Knock everybody else on the head. No, we definitely have to get a better picture.
You know, because I'm for real.
We deserve it now that we're stars.
Yeah, we're stars right now. Yeah, and you can also check us out. No. You know, one of the things is that you can also check out the show on. You can see all the top shows. Is it's a radio? I can't think of the name of the radio show. It's a radio station, and it's a good radio station. No, it's not a radio station. It's a website that has radio show host on it. And Top Talk Radio. You go on Top Talk Radio, you get to see the picture, and you can click on and check out our website. Let's go to toptalkradio.com, and you get to see the photo, and then you get to see go to the website. But it's so interesting how things are growing in 2015, and it's going to be an exciting year for OnFire News Network and OnFire Show, and also exciting year for HamiltonRadio.net. And it's one of the things that we were planning on doing is getting better and having great guests on the show and talking about things what's happening around the city, around the state, around the country, and around the world. And it's just, as we get better guests, it's going to be more exciting to listen. And it's about educating the people because the people need to be educated, Joe. And I tell the people, if you listen to something if you heard right now what's happening in the Western Sahara, you don't take it, don't just listen. Go on the internet, go online, and research it yourself, and you get to see what is happening. Mm-hmm. Do you have that site on again?
Let's see that.
It's called what? This is actually things that are happening around the world.
Right. This was films.culturesofresistance.org, WS-timeline, /WS timeline, Cultures of Resistance, the movie.
Yeah.
So I want to check out Cultures of Resistance, the movie. It says, groundbreaking documentary, Cultures of Resistance explores how art and creativity can be the ammunition in the battle for peace and justice.
Yeah. So we want people to go there and do their research, and what's happening. We want people to learn about Common Core and what is Common Core really about. We want people to know about what's happening in the justice system and why individuals can't get jobs to take care of their family. I mean, where people are struggling and fighting. And we're 2015. We're in the 21st century, and we still have struggles of the 1960s and the 50s all over, like right here in New Jersey, right here in the country, what's happening around the world. But also, we want to talk to people also coming up about, we want to definitely talk about the gas tax and the taxes that we have in our state and around the world, and around the country.
Right. Well, human culture and human beings are always in the process of becoming. Mm-hmm. We never get to the place where we said, oh, finally, we hit it, we've made it, and that's the end of it. The moment you take your eye off the ball, someone will come behind and ruin it for you. And there's a continual vigilance is needed. You'll never get perfection, but someone will always be there to step in and ruin things for people. So you always have to really keep your eye on what the bad guys are up to and what the people who are up there. Because it's a lot easier to steal from people than it is to create something good. And there's always going to be someone looking for a way to steal from you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It kind of reminded me of my ex-girlfriend. Find a way to mess it up for me. Yeah, we all have those those ex moments. One of the also things I want to talk about is Clifford Adams. I went to his funeral today, and he had if you want to say he had a great funeral.
All right.
And he had members from Kool and the Gang was there. Mm-hmm. As you know, he was from Trenton, New Jersey, and he was a Trenton-born person. And Clifford Adams is a great individual, and that made it to one of the top R&B groups, especially the 70s and the 80s.
Sure.
And he was touring all around the world. And, Kool and the Gang. And, they had the people that had their saxophone. They were musicians there giving tributes to Clifford Adams. Doc Long, who's a poet and who's the father of Nia Long and some more, the comedian. And Nia Long is a movie actress, one of the top actors of her generation. He was there. He read a poem. and a great poem. And it was about about his life and his history, and how he did things for people in the inner city and had programs. As a musician, he came back. You know how some people that after they make it, they leave and never come back. Well, this individual, Clifford Adams, came back and helped the young people and taught them music.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's what it's all about. A very nice individual, a person that had a beautiful smile. If you go into the OnFire News Network and you go into the conversation with Clifford Adams, Anwar did a show where he interviewed Clifford Adams. It's on the OnFire News Network, and it's about helping people. It's about coming back and doing for people that have less, and that's what Clifford Adams did. The man had a great person, a great smile. He was a master. Well, he was a master musician. A master musician, and if you're a master of musicians, that means you're a master. You're the best. And
Yep.
he was the best at what he did, and we've been blessed to know him. I've known him for about 10 years, and more so in the past 3 or 4 years, we got to have really great conversations and talk to him, and met his beautiful wife, and it's terrible that would happen. He died from liver cancer, and as his wife was on the show a few weeks ago talking about he was trying to get into the hospital in Newark, and then they realized when he got to the hospital, I think a few days later, they realized it was just too late.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't, the cancer was just a transplant of a liver was not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, and you read the articles, her conversations. She talks about the legalities and what she said when she was in, she was in here, the legalities of this and the legalities of that. And when you hear the word legalities, it means that government's got its hands all over it because they've written all kinds of statutes, they've made all kinds of regulations to make things difficult. And I know, and they were between insurance, which one of the things that's happened in this country is that for most people, insurance got attached to employment.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't hear people losing their homeowners insurance or people losing their life insurance or people, they buy these policies and then they keep them and their car insurance, unless of course they're really bad drivers and it gets pulled away from them. But people buy, but things got attached to, your employment and, your employer. And then, you get out of work and all of a sudden you can't, find jobs. And Obamacare is supposed to take care of that, but it's not. And we know that's not because Obama is subsidizing the insurance companies right now, mm-hmm. and to make it look artificially low. But another 3 years down the road, when Barack is gone, the rates are going to go through the roof. Mm-hmm. And again, because it's attached to the insurance companies. Plus, you're also going to have to cover a lot more stuff than you ever had to insure yourself before. Mm-hmm. But it's and it's a human tragedy. I don't want to politicize it, but I think this is what happens to people when governments get involved. They gum up the works and make it harder for people to get things done.
Yeah, and it's such a shame that we lost the world has lost a great musician. And one of the things that people say about Trenton is we look at the Trenton Makes Bridge, and Trenton makes, the world takes, mm-hmm. and the world took Clifford Adams.
Right.
Trenton made him, the world took him, and the world accepted him and loved his music. Mm-hmm. And he was a person that was a joyful person. He was when you're seeing him on stage, he always had a smile. That was his life, was music.
Right.
And you have to love a person that loves music who played great music because he brought you joy in your life. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that when you listen to radio and when you listen to OnFire News Network, that we can bring OnFire show, we can bring some type of joy in your day and talk about these issues. And we want people to give us a call at 609. We got about 7 minutes to go, 609-800-1003, or go to your chat room. I think a lot of people feel comfortable in going to the chat room.
Yeah, there's a lot of people perking up about the Obamacare.
Oh yeah. One of y'all, we want them to give us a call. I mean, how many people are in the chat room right now? We have.
I don't know. I don't know how to count this.
Oh.
That doesn't.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
About 7, I think.
Oh, okay. We got about 7 people in the chat room.
There are people coming in and out.
They coming in, they coming out.
Coming out.
And, we have about 6 minutes to go. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the show and keep on listening. You can hear our back shows on the OnFire News Network. You can go to the radio page or go to YouTube and type in OnFire News Network. And you get to listen to some of our old shows and some of we'll talk about some exciting things. And, one of the things that we'll definitely be talking about is coming up is April 15th is tax day. And what is the guy named who owns the Bob's Little Sports Shop? Bob, right?
Bob. It's Bob.
His name
Little
is Bob.
No.
It's Big Bob.
Bob.
Father Bob. Now, he is speaking at the tax day rally.
Awesome.
Yes. So every week we're going to be bringing you exciting new people that are going to definitely speakers for the rally. And we definitely, I have to go. They're going to take care of them issues I have to take care of tomorrow. But, for this rally, because it's so important that people know about what's happening, know about the taxes, and speak out about it. And I think that we're definitely going to have a great event. And also, we probably put together a panel where we have people that are dealing with these issues who know about what's happening with our state and national tax, who can really motivate people, especially at this rally. I mean, it's so important. We're going to have a rally and hopefully put together a panel either the day before the rally or right after the rally and sit down and discuss and come together and somehow work this out because, you're paying taxes, but are your schools any better?
No.
No.
Never better.
Not any better.
Always worse.
Yeah. Are the roads better?
No.
I mean, hell, is in Cincinnati, they had I think over a road, piece of highway that fell down and smashed one person.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we're these are our tax dollars and these are the states and federal tax dollars that we ask the government, all right, you have our tax dollars, now fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And, have they fixed the problem? No. They haven't fixed the problem, Joe.
They haven't, and they have not fixed the problem. Not even in Delaware. They 495 bridge. They found that was the abutments on that were cracking, and they had to close that down for 3 months to fix that before people fell into the swamp.
And that's the thing that to help. If we have a national problem because we've had bridges and roads fall apart. Now, there are people that need jobs to take care of their family, and the state definitely can hire individuals to fix these road problems. Hire people with, who need jobs to work on this situation that we're having all across our country.
Well, you could do that, but then who's going to pay these people?
Yeah, who's going to pay those people?
We're way in debt. I think we've got to find some creative ways of financing the roads. I was just reading an article about that today. It's weird that you bring that up. But the federal government had put gasoline taxes in and have raised them over the years. But a lot of those, in order to keep the interstate highway system, in good maintenance. Mm-hmm. But what they did is, rather than earmark that, they simply put it into the general fund. Mm-hmm. And then once it goes into the general fund, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, the gas
but
tax.
It's not. But again, it's not go. That was supposed to be a very fair way of funding the roads. Because say, okay, great. Mm-hmm. If you drive 100 miles and you drive, 10 miles, then we're paying proportionally for your use of the roads.
Yeah.
Because you're using that much gas. But if they're taking, that's fine. But if they're taking that and not putting it there and using it for all the other, they use part of it like to fund wars and to fund all the other programs they have. Well, now they're gonna come back and say our infrastructure's bad, and they've wasted the money.
One of the ways of one of the ways you can pay people is with the Second Presbyterian Church was built
right
in the 1700s, and they paid the workers bottles of rum.
I like that.
I like that.
We'll work for what?
Hey, we'll work for Bud Ice.
We'll work for
No. Platinum. Bud Light Platinum. We'll work 6-pack of Bud Light Platinum. How about that, guys? 6-pack an hour.
6-pack an hour.
But it's funny when I talked to the pastor at the Presbyterian Church, he said, yeah, our church was built on rum.
There we go.
You know, they paid the workers bottles of rum. Wow, they fixed their church, built their church up. Isn't that something? The first Presbyterian church in Trenton was built because they paid their workers rum.
And it hasn't fallen in yet.
It haven't fallen in yet. Haven't fallen apart yet.
Don't lean against the wind.
Yeah. But it's the funniest thing. You know how people made deals back in the 1700s.
Sure.
Yeah. This is the On Fire show. It's about 10:29. We'd like to thank all our listeners. We'd like to thank people in the chat room. We'd like to also thank HamiltonRadio.net. And we'd like to thank our guest, Mr. Linn Washington from Temple University, talking about the Western Sahara, what's going on in Algeria and Morocco.
That's something you won't hear anyplace else. So,
no, you won't. You don't get that.
Actually, got another comment here. So the delegates and senators are in Richmond now talking about how to spend this tax money.
Oh, wow.
Already taxes wrong. That one too.
Yeah. But it's a lot of interesting things are happening, and we're here to report on it and talk about these things. And I can't wait till next week, and we're going to have more guests on. Again, you definitely should have some good guests on because it's our